But guess what? We got a lot to do. You gotta say hi to me. We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway, this woman helped me get an awful lot done. Anyway, but the truth is, there's a lot more Republicans out there taking credit for the new bridges and those buildings that are collapsing.
And I'm wondering if you think he should run in 2024, or do you think the party should put someone else forward who might be better?
President Biden is the president of the United States. He did a great service to our country. He defeated Donald Trump. Let's not forget that. If you care about the air we breathe, the water we drink, the education of our children, jobs for their families, pensions for their seniors, any subject you can name. I'm not going into politics about whether the president should run or not.
And in 41 states, plus the District of Columbia, the average gasoline price is less than $2.99.
Found purpose to challenge convention, shatter stigma, and advance the simple truth that
By the way, it's all his fault that we're spending $6 billion in taxpayer money this month to help fight HIV/AIDS. Remember seeing all those food lines? People in nice-looking automobiles waiting for an hour and a half just to have a box of food put in their trunk? In the United States of America. In the United States of America, that was happening.
Super excited that we are here in Pittsburgh. Of course, we chose Pittsburgh for a reason. Thank you. Pittsburgh, of course, is a symbol of a place-based strategy, a community that has transformed.
President Biden said last week that it's not rational to send these people from Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua back. Does that mean that President Biden is in some way, or the White House, someone encouraging them to come to the U.S.?
And he was saying that they should not be used as a political pawn by Governor DeSantis or any Republican governor. That's what he was speaking to. He was calling out.
Mr. President, why is the border more overwhelmed under your watch? Mr. President, on the border, why is it more overwhelmed under your watch? On the border, why is the border more overwhelmed under your watch, Mr. President?
Because there are 3 countries that there are fewer immigrants coming from Central America and from Mexico. This is a totally different circumstance. What's on my watch now is Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua. And the ability to send them back to those states is not rational. You could send them back and have them, we're working with Mexico and other countries to see if we can stop the flow. But that's the difference. Thank you.
Looks like
he's sending migrants to Delaware. Do you have any comment or response to that, sir?
He should come visit. We have a beautiful shoreline.
And it is one of the most historic investment to fight climate change. As we are talking about extreme weather, I've gotten multiple questions on Puerto Rico and what the people of Puerto Rico, our brothers and sisters, are going through. What may happen in this hurricane season. A lot of that is going to be helped by the work that this president has done, bipartisan infrastructure law. Again, the Inflation Reduction Act.
And on today's news, the markets are falling, the stock markets are falling. The dollar is strengthened significantly, the pound has dropped. What is the White House's take on that and the broader implications for the U.S. economy?
So the stock market, as you've heard us say many times, is just one measure of the economy that shows how the economy is doing. And so we are always watching these different indicators closely, including the stock market. It's also important to look at what's happening on Main Street. This is something that we think is important, as you've heard us talk about, to also look at. We have one of the strongest job markets on record. Well, we always know, there's always more work to do, but the president, with his economic plan, whether it's the American Rescue Plan or it's the Inflation Reduction Act, all of these are pieces of the president's economic plan that we're going to continue to work through. And is going to make sure we don't leave anybody behind. But again, this is one of the strongest job markets that we have seen on record. And so what we are seeing, and I've said this before, you've heard this from Brian Deese, is a transition to a more steady and stable growth. And that's what we're currently seeing and in the process of moving the economy into.
So the Federal Reserve is saying that the economy will significantly slow down to growing just 0.2% for the entirety of this year and then 1.2% for next year. Is this the stable growth the president is moving us towards?
You're talking about what he said yesterday?
Yeah, it was the projections the Federal Reserve came out. They projected the economy would grow at just 0.2% this year and 1.2% next year, which is pretty slow growth. And I'm just curious, is this the stable growth that you're talking about?
So, I mean, I talked about this a little bit already, how we're coming off of last year's historic economic growth. A lot of that is because of the work of this president and Democrats in Congress passing the American Rescue Plan, which puts us in a position where we saw the most stable growth, strongest growth that we have seen in modern history. So it's no surprise that the economy at this point is going to slow down, is going to cool off just a bit. So given the encouraging initial signs that we have seen on inflation and the continued strength of growth in the job market, so we believe the transition remains possible. We believe that we will get to a strong and stable growth. We believe that we will see that cooling that you hear economists talking about.
On inflation, Americans are making tough choices related to inflation. And last week they saw the president do the celebration during the Inflation Reduction Act. When core inflation rose for the first time in 5 months on that day. This week there's another celebration, 48 hours after the Fed chairman said there'd be more economic pain. Is that optics of those two celebrations insensitive to what Americans are going through?
So the president has always, when he talks about the economy, has made clear to understand what the American families are going through, what the American people are going through. He understands that the economy and inflation in particular, high cost, is giving some pain, to your point, to Americans. That is why we passed. That is why Democrats in Congress passed Inflation Reduction Act. By the way, no Republicans supported that. And as you know, you've heard me say it many times, you've heard the president say it many times, it is going to lower costs, and it is one of the most historic investment to fight climate change. As we are talking about extreme weather, I've gotten multiple questions on Puerto Rico and what the people of Puerto Rico, our brothers and sisters, are going through, what may happen in this hurricane season. A lot of that is going to be helped by the work that this president has done, bipartisan infrastructure law. Again, the Inflation Reduction Act. So we are doing the work. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to work. We've seen gas prices go down for 14 weeks straight. And that, again, is because of the work that this president is doing. So, yes, we understand what the American people are going through.